Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Truth Seekers. I'm Dan Horton,
I'm Erica Riesberg.
and we're so happy to be back with you today. And boy, we've seen an interesting start to 2022.
Yeah.
I'll say, to say the least, huh?
That's a kind way of putting it. Yes.
Sounds like Erica may have something she wants to share about a viewpoint.
Oh, it's just that there's so much going on in the collective right now, and just to be grounded is it's like a daily task to do.
No, without a doubt, more than ever.
Yeah. So
more than ever.
Yeah.
I'll just say, because we got some great guests for you today, first of all, and we're going to talk about them in just a minute. But before we go into that, the story last week, I believe it was, that really came out to me that I think is a kind of indicative of the big shift that we're going through right now is what happened in the UK, right? Do you know about that?
Well, I know that there are lots of protests. I know there's something going on with the parliament.
Well, UK, they shifted everything. They've stopped mask mandates.
Oh, really?
They've stopped, any requirement of mask or vaccine card to get in anywhere. And so
that's amazing.
They're rolling things back to the old normal.
Wow.
As much as they can. So it's very interesting to see how things may shift following that move.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing, because I was up in Portland a week and a half ago, and I went into one of my favorite coffee shops, and I could not sit there unless I had a vaccine passport.
Wow. So what'd you do?
So I just got my coffee and I left. Okay, that's what you want. And so it's interesting to see where we are in our consciousness and how things are shifting. So it's beautiful to hear that that's happening in the UK. Because I do feel that there's a tide shifting. So
yeah, I think it's, we're in 2022 and we're still obviously in the middle of winter, although here in Mount Shasta, we've been blessed with, high 50s.
Plus.
I was out at the lake yesterday working on a creative project, and I'm not afraid to admit I was laying there for about 2 hours with my shirt off, and it felt like I was in 80-degree weather. So we do want more snow, though. Please bring us more snow. We need the snow for Mother Earth and for the water, but it was nice, and it's been nice. So we're definitely in that winter time still, and I think we haven't seen the end of things that are going on. But this big shift in the UK is a very interesting domino. And I've been feeling that in my own life as well. I've been feeling a new energy coming through.
I have too.
I echo what you said about, I think it's been more important for me to really be balanced, to be out in Mother Earth, to make sure I'm getting my meditation, my workout in, eating well. Yeah. More important than ever, right?
Oh, yeah. Because there's so many energies going around that it's really important to be present to yourself. And because the reason why I don't know much is because I'm not paying attention to the news much, because I'm a former radio broadcaster, and I know my propensity to follow the news.
Sure.
So the less I pay attention,
it sucks you in.
It does. So the less I pay attention, the happier I am.
Well, we want to keep you happy. Trust me, we want to keep her happy. You know what I mean? But speaking of energy, I think that's a great way to segue into our guests today, because our guests are all about shifting the energy in community and then moving that through the planet worldwide. They're doing some really interesting things. So I feel very blessed to have met them and to kind of learn a little bit about what their vision is and what they're doing. And, I'll leave it to Erica, because she's been even a little bit more integral of knowing what's happening here. And then we'll go into where our guests are.
I was given the opportunity to meet Dayana and Jaime through Dan, actually, back in March. And in August, I was blessed with the opportunity to move on to the sacred lands that they steward. And I had no idea how magical it was, and I had no idea how magical they are. And I thank my lucky stars every day that I get to live on this land with them and help co-create their vision. What I didn't know is Dayana is probably the best manifester I've ever seen in my life. Because she visualizes things and then they magically come to life. And one of the things that she's co-creating is through her vision of permaculture, which she started 2 years ago when they moved onto the land. And I'm going to give that as the introduction to having you both introduce yourselves and what your background is a little bit, and then what drew you to this land and how this is unfolded for you.
All right. Thank you, Erica. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you, Dan. It's such a blessing to have you both in our lives. So this is Jaime. Jaime and I have been together for 22 years. And for most of our life together, we lived in San Jose, California, and smack downtown. We were like in an urban setting, as urban as it can get. I taught urban planning on the theme of cities and being very urban. I taught urban planning at San Jose State for 27 years. And in 2019, I found that my cycle in San Jose ended. San Jose State ended. It was very clear, and decided to kind of wrap it up. And that propelled us to move up here to Shasta. And it was very unexpected. But yeah, literally within 2 or 3 months of just getting to know the Mount Shasta area, and setting the trajectory to come up here, in 2 or 3 months, we were living in Shasta. Jaime, you want to add something to it and introduce yourself?
Well, originally we're from Colombia,
Yeah.
South America, and Dayana came here about 30 plus years ago as a student of urban planning. Yeah, she got her master's at Cincinnati University, and then ended up teaching at San Jose State University. And I got here in year 2000, and I'm a mechanical engineer by education, and I was working with an Italian company, and then I moved after I met Dayana, and kind of had this invitation to work in community development more than really engineering, which I was kind of ready to move on from engineering to something more helping communities, kind of giving back to the community and leaving the corporate world. I accepted a position in a nonprofit, in a housing nonprofit in San Jose, and that's how we then together work with the city of San Jose and the students and this nonprofit, a housing nonprofit, for almost 15 years. And then I moved into Catholic Charities of Santa Clara County to keep doing community development and community support work. And then Shasta came, invited us here.
As she does.
It was like a punch. It was like a no argument, no nothing. We just felt it. It was like, you guys done your deal down there. I still work remotely because I still helping assisting people in San Jose with this COVID thing about the rental assistance program. So I still work on the phone helping them to apply for rentals. But we're shifting into rural spiritual sensitiveness, if you put it that way. The land.
Can I add something in there real quick? Because you said how Shasta punched you. And I was just thinking about, Erica explained a little bit earlier how she met you guys through me. And you and I had met. I just came here in the fall of 2019 as well, Dayana, when you came. And Jaime, you and I had met at a birthday event. I remember. And I don't think I had seen you since then. And just happened to be, we were doing a little ceremony in the land. I was living on the land next door to Losia, beautiful land as well, as we know. And we were doing a little ceremony, and we just decided, you know what? We need to really walk this land and see what the land is saying. And where did the land lead us? It led me to you, actually, to Jason, your dog, who was barking and ran up to me in the field, and I see you in the back. I didn't know who you were, and you're like, he's friendly. I'm like, okay. And he came up, friendliest dog ever. And you're like, Dan. I'm like, oh, Jaime. And I came up and we started talking. I realized you live there, and then we were able to just introduce Erica to you. And it's no surprise to me at all that you two ended up on this land, because this area, Mount Shasta in general, we know is magical, but this area where you live, and this whole, I don't know what you want to say, like maybe 15-mile radius area is just a special area where it feels like there's so much creativity happening. So I just want to salute you to listen to that mountain call. And we're so glad you're here. And it's been magic how you're brought back into my life as well. So thank you for following that.
Yeah, it's the bunch. Yeah, the bunch of Shasta and the surrounding areas. There's so many things that we appreciate. I call this my telos. When people ask me about, what is your perception of a magical place, I tell them I live in a magical place now. If what can I ask for is, I have this property, this I can live in a shack here and it will be the same as living in a house. It's just the land here. And it's the Telos dream, because I have a river, I have trees around, there is lots of animals, wild animals. I cannot ask for anything else, really.
Well,
I have woke up and you see these beautiful pictures of Telos and crystal things and magic, more magic. I don't know. I don't need any more magic. This is magical by itself.
I couldn't agree with you more, because, when I was living on the land behind you, I think you realized I was living in the pump house at the time. If you don't know what a pump house is out there, there's a big pump. And then that's pretty much it. But they made a little bunk bed in there. And I just was so drawn to the land. I'm like, this is great, because I'm going to be camping most of the time anyway. I just want to be on this land. It doesn't matter, right? So, yeah, it's the land.
So now I'll let Dayana kind of bring her dream, as you originally were asking us, because she has the dream and she has the plan, and I think that's why we're here.
Yeah, that has become clear. It kind of unfolds day by day. What is the next step, and why are we here? Was the first question once we moved in. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because we were not setting out to be farmers. That was not in the plan. And listen, I am an urban planner, spent 27 years planning things out. I want to know. I want to know what's ahead. The plan was never to be farmers. We thought we were going to move in Shasta, but probably in a more urban setting. Maybe let's even got a little piece of land to build a small house. But it turns out that the destination was completely different. We were pretty much drawn to this land, and every day is very, very clear that we were just kind of asked to anchor here. And as Erica mentioned, I kind of had seen it. I had seen what our final destination, or at least for this stage in our journey, will be like. I spoke with Jaime about it. I described the land. I described, the pond. I described orchards. I described, all the details, the mountains in the back and the meadow. And within a few days, Jaime found it. So we are kind of a team in that way, that, I describe what's ahead and he goes and just reels it in. He just nails it down. So once we were here, the question was, why are we here? Why are we here? It was very clear that this place is not just for the three of us. We have a 14-year-old son. So it's not just for the three of us. So then for whom? And just kind of asking, why are we here? And why is all this land that's mostly, when we moved here, was mostly pasture? Why is it there? What does the land want to do? So as you listen carefully, the answer was, first, let's grow food, and as much food as possible, and in a way that is very aligned with the natural cycles, with the ecology of the place. So I think the instruction was, listen to the land, observe how everything works very carefully, spend time out there, just observing everything. Observe the flow of the water, observe how the wind moves through the land, observe what animals move through the land, what the water does. Observe, and then you will know. That's kind of it's the way we used to grow food and the way we used to handle agriculture, and we have forgotten about that. So that was the first step to start growing food in a place that had not been used for growing food for decades. and very clearly that the pattern or the means to do that would be to permaculture, which is again all about working with the cycles of the land. So we've been working on that. And then the next set of instructions was, well, it's going to be for children. Like what people are going to come. If it's not just for the three of us. So, little by little, others started coming in. Erica is now in our land. We have another friend who lives in the land as well. And the next step is going to be to bring children to learn about how we grow our food in a way that will sustain us, that will truly nourish us by rebuilding the soil, by regenerating the whole area, and by falling in love with the earth, by sticking their hands in the dirt and falling in love with the earth. And we are also bringing animals, because that's got to be an integral component of any food growing systems. Nothing goes to waste. Whatever the animals excrete will go into the land to enrich the land, and then the plants will feed the animals. So, and we are part of we're also the animals on the land. So everything, it's eventually going to be within this system. Everything nourishes everything else as a cycle. So that's where we are now. And the vision now is, with the help of friends, we've been listening and meeting a lot of beautiful, beautiful people who are moving in the same direction, who have a very similar idea of what they want to do with their lives and how we need to create a new sense of community into what we're stepping in. And just by listening to people and what everybody brings, the vision is gelling as Earth Magic School, which is really sharing the magic of this land. We have an enchanted forest, right alongside our land, that it's a perfect playground for kids to grow and learn through play. And that's where the vision is going to continue growing and evolving. And our friends are coming, those who are interested in plugging into this vision, because this is not the work of one, two, nor even three. It's the work of many. And little by little, as we send out like a beacon of, this is the idea, then those who are interested in being part of that vision, you say, I'm here, count me in. I also want to add to it. So one step at a time. My sense is that it's accelerating. This year, you were talking about the acceleration into 2022. We're feeling it too in the way in which people are showing up who have just the perfect background. That everything in their life experience has prepared them for contributing to something that can be called the Earth Magic School. And that have the passion for that, and at a point in their life when they're looking for what's next. So it's remarkable how they just keep on showing up. Our team is showing up. Our family is showing up. And that's very exciting, because we've been sitting here for 2 years, just like percolating, marinating the vision, the idea, listening, learning. And now we sense the acceleration. And you two guys are part of that, of course. Erica and Dan are part of that. We see you here working with us on this. How will it unfold? I think it will depend on what each of us brings. Mm-hmm. There is nobody telling anybody else what to do. Like, we will be moved by what we feel drawn to do, that where we can feel like absolutely happy. Where work is not work is joy. Work is like, let's play like children in this land. All of us can play like children in this land. And Jaime also has his playground here.
Oh, that's another.
Well, I can add to that. One most important thing that has happened is that needs to be counted in for the realization of this dream is the community, like Dayana said, around us, but not only the friends that come, like, the land invites people that the land wants to be here, but also there has been something that the people who are not in alignment, they don't feel like to stay. They come visit and they said, see you, go on yourselves. But the community, the town of Weed, the community there has also been very inviting, very receiving, and and helpful on any questions. When you're when you're a settler, when you try to settle somewhere, um, it's good to go around and knowing who are in your surroundings. And the town of Weed obviously is the closest center for anything. It's a small community, but it has been very inviting. I love to be near this town. The resources are there. What we need are there to move on, and the building part that I'm in charge kind of the process of making reality Dayana's dream. I am kind of the support person to convert, to turn the land around. So I'm in charge of the tractor. I'm in charge of the building to keep the grounds, working, because that's part of the whole thing. But I wanted to give credit to the neighbors. Our neighbors are great neighbors, and even though this is not an urban setting there, but certainly when we have asked them for advice, people who have been here for a long, long time, my goodness, that is very important, to give them the credit and to be in touch with them, because they give us advice that only people who have been here for years can give. So we're not here to reinvent the wheel on certain things. We're here to, receive the invitation of the land and make it great for others as well as ourselves, but also to be part of the community at large, not only us and the town surroundings, the town that also are neighbors, like Mount Shasta City and Wairika. So there is a story there that we have to be aware of, not just kind of concentrate on everything here, but the surroundings, the mountains around. You have to give recognition. That's part of the deal. Just wanted to say that.
No, I appreciate that. I'd love to explore that a little bit more, because obviously what you're doing here is very innovative, and we're in this time where people are feeling they need to be more a part of communities and more a part of sustainability, and you're bringing the education on the land, and so I'm curious how you see things evolving with, first of all, maybe what you see your vision in growing into in the next year or two here, and maybe, I know we have talked about possibly you doing this in some other places, but also how that works with the communities that are established at large. Did they work in a symbiotic relationship, or do you see it more as we're shifting away from how towns have worked in the past and moving into something where it's going to move into a whole different paradigm? Because I'm feeling what you're doing as a bridge, but what do you see it as being a bridge to? Is it an add-on, or is it something that exists completely in concert with what's already happening out there?
I want to go back to what you mentioned about this being a demonstration project, which is pretty much what we've seen. Like this is a way of showing how a community can work in a way in which everybody is respected. Everybody brings in their talents, their skills, their passions, and contributes to something greater. Where each of us just finds our piece of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. How does the full puzzle look like? Nobody has seen it, because everybody has to keep on adding, and then we will see what the full picture, the full tapestry looks like, we're each adding a stitch to that. And that's the same for the communities around, so if there is a demonstration, it's more about how to do it versus the final product. So how to do it in a way in which we honor every single step, every single decision, every single being that is part of that. And that includes the beings that are here already, all the animals, the plants that are here already, that were here before us and are going to be here right after, like even after we go. And as Jaime says, also the families that pioneered this area, they have been here for over a century. So it has to be in honor of all of them. I do think at the same approach of listening to the potential of the place. The place, all places have a spirit. And if you listen carefully, you can hear what they want to be. And it's the same for the town of Weed. The town of Weed has a ton of potential, and probably the town of Wairika and the town of Mount Shasta. And if we listen carefully, they're going to tell us what is next. There is also a lot of change. A lot of newcomers like us are arriving. And all of us, the four of us, are newcomers here. And there is going to be more. And we see that even that process is accelerating. People are, I guess, disillusioned with living in cities, and they want alternatives. And this is a very, very, very appealing alternative, to be in nature in a pristine, gorgeous area where you're closer to the cycles of life. So we see that whatever happens here will have some effect in the town of Weed. Jaime is very involved also with what's going on in terms of local governance and so on in the town of Weed. So we are also hoping that connection will continue. One of the things we will need to do here is explore and experiment on self-governance. What does that mean? It's not even, I don't even think the word democracy encapsulates it. Democracy is majority rule. It's, in self-governance, in true self-governance, in a true local community, everybody's voice has to be heard. Everybody's voice, not only the majority. So it's really about building consensus, not with the lowest denominator, but the highest common denominator. Going for the highest common denominator where we all feel represented. So that's got to be part of this, and it's driven from within, where each of us will feel what we want to freely give and contribute to this sense of being here together. So yeah, self-govern, and hopefully also demonstrate to the children how that is done. How you can, and even children absolutely will need to have a voice in what happens here as they come in to work with us or to experience this land. And yeah, and the vision is that if this experiment works, and I think it's already budding, this can be a seed that can be transplanted elsewhere. Because once we see that it works, it's inevitable that others will be inspired to come and take the little seed with them, like a little plant, and plant it somewhere else. So it keeps on spreading elsewhere. And this is one version. There are many different versions. And because we're from Colombia, our hope is to plant one similar or kind of a sister community somewhere in Colombia, where we see ourselves probably connecting back to our own family of origin, our blood families. We're building a family here. We're creating a family here where we come together because of our affinity, not necessarily because of our blood relation, but it's our affinity. Well, we also have our blood family, so we like to continue on spreading that somewhere else. So it's in very early stages. However, it's taking, I think it's gaining momentum, and there is a strength, a life-giving strength that it's building up and popping through the soil in a way. I think that the gardening metaphors work very well here. And another aspect of this is going to explore technologies, where Jaime is a mechanical engineer. He also likes to build. So technologies for housing, he's going to be building tiny homes and maybe looking at what what the house of the future looks like. Where we are really that a house, housing that really supports health in all ways, energetically and emotionally. There's really supporting health, and we want to also move towards total self-sufficiency, where we can create our own source of energy. And we're not really interested in investing in solar or even wind. There are new energies coming up that are worth investing, and maybe even waiting a little bit, because they are going to really incorporate
self-generation.
None of the drawbacks of even renewable energy, that current renewable energy, none of those drawbacks, and many more benefits. So we're definitely looking into, magnetic energy production, or who knows what else is happening. But that's also part of the vision: total self-sufficiency, in a way, like radical self-sufficiency, where we rely on each other, and we rely on the land, and nothing is needed. Everything kind of generates itself within this land.
I don't know if are you guys familiar with the Mount Shasta National Forest Association on the backside of the mountain of Mount Shasta? It's very interesting what they have going on out there. They all have, it's kind of what you said, what I can see maybe happening in this neighborhood if everybody kind of gets on board with the same vision, where they have their own board. So they vote about what's going on, how they're going to use the water resources, what they're going to share, what's going to be allowed to come in, what's not going to be allowed to come in. And they seem to work very sufficiently together, in that manner. And everything up there is off the grid. So it's basically the governmental influence is very minimal, if at all. They're pretty much self-governed, in that area. So I can see something like that happening here. Possibly with you guys.
There are so many places we can learn from. We're listening, as I mentioned before. We're listening. Just there is no need to reinvent. There is a lot going on. There are eco villages that have been in place for a long time, and they've done fantastic things. We need to create a solution that is very unique to the land. Each piece of land, each place is completely unique. So that needs to drive any of our work needs to be driven by what the uniqueness of the land. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I want to add something. The idea of the tiny homes is really into what you can do when you reduce your footprint of living in a Mac mansion, and you move into a tiny home. You're just swapping area for the opportunity to be self-sufficient. If you buy, let's say, 1 acre of land, and then you live in a tiny home, then you have most of the land open for self-sufficiency, to build your garden and everything. And I think that is the most important part of a tiny home, if people can see the concept. We don't live in a tiny home, but and somehow the land was big enough that the house is not really the most important setting, is the land. So that's to me, that's the most important concept. But you have a tiny piece of land, you can become self-sufficient in that tiny piece of land. And that's what I think is the hope in the cities that are turning into that people can start looking at it from that perspective. And self-governance in neighborhoods, I don't see why not. If, like what Dayana said, if you are generating your own energy, right? The only thing that you need, the government, is to keep the roads open for to transport, but basically you get to that point into the fact that the neighborhood can be your community and be self-government and be sovereign and achieve that. Here it can be done, is being done. Obviously in rural settings is kind of easier because you have less people per area. But I think that that can be done, and we hope that um, people turn into it pretty quick, pretty soon. Of what is this COVID thing is the other thing that has been kind of a blessing somehow. The reflection of being corralled and being put in confinement um, is awakening at minds in a very, very interesting way. To the point in which, like Dan just said, that there is a point in which people are like, wait a minute, we need the community to come together. We need to communicate among ourselves. But that has come through this pressure that we have of being in confinement. So that's very interesting. Everything that is happening is so interesting at this very moment, in a personal way and in community way. Just wanted to say that. I think we lost Erika and Dan. Hi guys, are you there? Nope.
Let's wait to hear from them. No, I think they control it. She has the controls.
Chat with the host.
I'm going to text them.
That was my. We lost. Sure.
Grisha, I know you. ¿Quieres decir algo más?
I don't know if we're in there.
It's still live.
It's live.
I
Oh
think
my
it's
goodness. I don't know. I just.
It is recording.
Are we live?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Okay. It says live here.
It's not live on my side, so
Yeah. So the moment the image disappears, it
you
stopped.
can just
Okay.
broadcast on your side. Thank you.
All right.
It's awesome. It's my hotspot. It was perfectly fine, and all of a sudden it just So we had some technical difficulties, so we apologize for the end of the video, but we're so grateful.
So grateful
So
to Jaime
grateful
and
to Jaime and
Dayana
Dayana.
for joining us today. And they're obviously up to some amazing things, and we're so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And this Earth Magic School, we feel it's kind of, I mean, Jaime alluded to it, that it's sort of Dayana, that this is the thing to come,
Yeah.
you know, and that people really want to get back and be in community again in a different way. And it doesn't have to be separate from towns and cities that
Right.
are out there, you
Right.
know. And one thing that he said to me that I hadn't realized at all, I don't
Mm.
know if you had, he's talking about if people can get a different mindset of, if they have an acre of land,
Yeah.
then maybe they can change the way they're living and put a tiny house on it and use that land to, you know, grow food and become sustainable. And I'm starting to
love
see
that.
this
I love
vision in my
that.
mind of that happening, possibly happening in the city. So you
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
walk down a city block and see a tiny home, another
Mhm.
tiny home here, and communities growing their own food in the
Yeah.
middle of San Francisco or
Yeah.
LA, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It'd be a
Yeah. It's
beautiful
just
thing.
such a beautiful vision, and it's such an honor to be part of it. It
Mhm.
really is.
Well, it's an
So,
honor to be here with you
Yeah,
again
same
today,
here.
and
Same here.
you know, this was our first time having guests, so we did have a few technical issues. We hope that you were able to bear with us, but
we thank you for listening.
we do, and we'll see you again on True Seekers. And until then, call to action to you to just maybe think about what you can do a little bit more sustainable in your life, whether it's just, you know, building a little rooftop garden.
Or even get like one of those. Yeah.
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah. Or use your microgreens.
You know, and it's like what Dayana was saying too, and I'll just end with this, that maybe if you just go out to your yard, to the trees, listen to the stones, and if you don't have a yard, just walk outside and look up at the sky, and message might come through on what the best thing to do is. I know that always helps me.
Mm-hmm.
So great to be with you today. Great to be with you.
Great to be with you, my dear.
Much love and blessings to everybody out there.
Love.